So now I'm going to show you the very first thing you do in this pattern after you finish the brim is you do a stitch called the seam and turn stitch. This hat needs to be knit flat because it's color work, and what happens is you knit a row and each color goes from right to left, and then when you get around the circle your active yarn is on the left instead of on the right where you need it. And so we actually work the hat flat back and forth all the way around, but so that you don't have to seam up the hat at the end, I use this stitch called the seam and turn stitch. I didn't use a stitch marker because it doesn't matter exactly where you seam and turn. Since this brim is rolled, you're not really going to be able to tell. I sort of approximated the stitch where it began. So this is the seam and turn stitch. First you're going to bring the yarn to the front, then you're going to slip one stitch purlwise, and you're going to bring the yarn to the back, and then you're going to take your right needle, put it from the bottom up into the little piece of yarn in between the first and second stitches on the left hand needle. And then you're going to knit that and pull it through. Now you're going to turn the work. You're going to bring the yarn to the back again, and then you're going to knit those two stitches together because you just created a stitch. Now you're going back to the original number of stitches. And that's the seam and turn stitch. It's a little confusing what happens here because we're only working with one color, but now I'm going to show you that stitch a couple more times with two different colors so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So here, there we go. I've done a couple of seam and turn stitches already, and then I'll show you a couple more. So what happens is that when you're working the right side of the fabric, you're going to come to the end of the row, and that very last stitch, instead of knitting it, you're going to put the yarn in the front, slip the stitch purlwise, then you're going to put the needle from bottom to top through the loop in between the first and second stitches on the left hand needle. You're going to knit that stitch, turn your work, move the yarn to the back again, and you're going to knit two together. And this is what the seam and turn stitch looks like on the back.